All right, we're on. Welcome back to another episode of the Average Pastor Podcast. I'm Mark. I'm here with my pastor friends, Jeff and Jake, and we're just hanging out on the fire porch again today, and we've got the ongoing work on your neighbor's house continues.
The ambient sounds. So, I mean, they have not been out there in probably weeks. I'm not even exaggerating. This morning I was out here. I'm like, of course they did, because we're going to bring microphones in.
Yeah, right. So we got some roofing going on over here. We got what else? We got the
West High marching band is practicing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little faint, so it probably won't make it in the microphones.
Shoot. Okay, so there's that.
Fall is in the air.
Mm-hmm.
We gave them our anthem song to play as our opening. I don't know if you guys can hear it or not.
The West High marching band is playing our intro song. Well, you guys, on the way in today, I saw the first color change of a tree in our neighborhood.
Really?
It's just like a strip of red.
Nice.
Oh, it's coming, and fall is here. So yeah, school's back in session. YouTube TV's back on with college football. Everyone's happy.
You're out of your prison.
Yeah, I'm out.
You're not on British public television anymore?
Yeah, no, I only did BritBox for,
Did Nebraska
for my TV fast.
Did Nebraska win this?
Nebraska got to win. Yeah. And how about Arizona State?
Yeah, we beat somebody we should have beat, but not as bad as we should have beat them. So you're kind of like, how's it gonna go?
Yeah. It's first game. And Jeff, maybe you could update.
I think all the Iowa fans were. James, how do you feel?
Yeah, okay. Well, just for some context, we're recording this.
Yes, that's
after
true.
week 1 of college football. So maybe a few things have happened.
Yeah. Oh, sure. That's true.
Yeah, so this is pre-Iowa State game where we're recording this. And yeah, you're not feeling super confident, but you also know anything can happen in this game.
By the time this is released, the Iowa State game will have happened. So can you just give your prediction ahead of time? Because people will laugh at how.
Oh man, prediction is Iowa 20-17.
Ooh,
I think they find a way. The Hawks have not lost at Jack Trice since 2011.
Oh, wow.
So it's fine. So
you're really banking on history more than like recent history.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not putting too much stock in.
Right.
This is a rare.
The last 5 years more than the last 2 weeks.
Yes.
This is a rare thing, though. What just happened is an optimistic Hawkeye fan. That's what we just heard.
It remains. It comes by being a Bears fan.
Yeah, that should have been my answer last episode to what I need a service dog for. It needs to bark at me whenever I get too hopeful about the Bears.
The Bears.
Or bite you.
And the Hawkeyes. Are you conflicted at all? Because you're an Iowa State alum.
Yeah, I mean, that goes deep for me. Yeah, I went to Iowa State. I love Iowa State. I love the university, but just both parents being Iowa alums. I grew up going to Hawkeye games. It's just, it's in the blood, and you can't get it out.
You can understand how conflicted I am, because it's the same situation for me. I'm also an Iowa State alum, living in Iowa City, from Omaha, and so it's complicated.
Yeah, you've got a lot of conflicting loyalties in your soul.
Yeah. Well, school's underway. Do you guys? I mean, Jeff, you're empty nest. So does the school year matter to you?
Well, it's fun because like on our little family text thread, we get pictures of like Coco's first day and just all the grandkids. Their first day of school, their pictures and stuff. And so, but yeah, we have way less skin in the game. I mean, there's no tears at our house. There's no kids crying because they have to go to school that first day, or whatever. So a lot less drama. But no, it's still fun. I mean, we still enter into the grandkids are up to.
What's school year mean for you, Jake? Any? You got one?
Yeah, we got one in there.
Mm-hmm.
Did she cry and kick and scream?
No. I think she's social enough to, all right, let's get going. Let's get back at it. She's doing tennis, which is now a fall sport for girls in Iowa. So That's been some activity.
Wow. Are you out there kind of hitting the ball with her a little bit?
Oh, no.
What does that mean? Oh no.
We did play. We played
You're not you're a grandpa,
right,
but you're not
Yeah, you are a grandpa.
We played once with her. So cuz Mars beat her. And then I beat Marcy, which usually we're pretty good. So she played tennis. Mm-hmm. But then she thought she could beat me and I'm like, that's not how this math works. So then I beat her, and she's still convinced that she's better than both of us. So we got to work on.
She's got some of that.
Yeah, she's determined. She has her own reality, but she's enjoying the sport. I think it'll be one that the three of us will do together. We have good.
That's fun.
Doing.
That's a good time.
Mark, you're kind of anticlimactic to previous years.
We thought we were empty nesters when our fourth left, and then we realized we still have two at home, and then one of them's public.
Wait,
one of them.
Who are you two? I haven't seen you guys.
You discover new children.
Where have you guys been living?
I thought the barrel was empty.
So one of them is doing homeschool. And so that's a loss of Letha's freedom. So totally. she's back in it. And this particular child, we were on our way to youth group, and we were picking up her friend.
There's only one this can be. You're trying to leave her in anonymity.
If I say their name, I owe them money when I talk about them. But I will tell this story.
What is the going rate?
This particular one.
I don't know. It's inflation. All I know is all of a sudden I'll get a bill for like $25.
I feel like I have a new goal in our podcast just to get Mark to name his kids.
Oh, totally.
I wonder if we can make a deal, Jeff, that we get a percentage if we can lead him into.
We finally figured out how to monetize the podcast. We cracked the code.
The third board's name? I'm forgetting. What was number 3? Somebody tell me.
Say their number, and you guys won't even know. We finally make money off this podcast. We've been trying to figure this out. So we were picking up this child's friend from to go to youth group, and her friends, barely speaks English. She's from Guatemala, and we go to youth group, and so we're talking on the way, and giving this girl a quiz on just some different stuff because they were like she just learned the ABCs in English, and it was kind of fun. We were talking, cool. and I was asking. I said, so how many states are there? And my kid jumped in and she said, well, her friend didn't know, I don't know how many states. And my kid jumped in. She's like, 52. If you count Chicago and Las Vegas. So I was like, okay. Chicago, is it and then I asked him this, I said, Chicago, is it a city, a state, or a country?
Oh, you had to go.
Is this the homeschooled one or the public school one?
The homeschool one. Okay. But you can't blame homeschool yet because she's been public schooled her whole life. So we're only a few days in. And I'm pretty sure the schooling is not the problem with this child. So nobody,
no shade on her previous teachers.
No, not at all. But this child. So I was like, okay, so Chicago, is it a city, a state, or a country? Well, her friend didn't know, and my daughter confidently says, it's a baseball team.
None of the above.
So then we went on to capitals. And it was we started with Iowa. What's the capital of Iowa? And so she got that, Des Moines. Oh, nice. And then I said, what's the capital of Missouri? She said, the Ozarks. So anyway,
kind of.
So
I'm going to give her that one.
Yes. So we got. Where do you start? And then she's like, basically said something to the effect of,
was there a city in Georgia?
It doesn't matter any of these things. She's like, I'm homeschooled, so it doesn't matter. I can just make it up. So the Homer thing with facts, you can prove that almost anything's true. So.
Wow.
So anyway, that's going on school, we guess.
Wait, and she's the biggest fan of AI, as I recall.
Yeah, totally.
To bring it all the way back.
Yeah.
Well, no. Let's not go there.
Yeah. Bingo. Someone got a place on their bingo card. And yeah, let's see. So school's back in, dude. Oh man, Salt Company kicked off, and that was a blast. Yeah, I had an opportunity to speak at our kickoff, and that was cool. Kind of an unexpected thing. But just being there and seeing it, you guys, it was so funny. James, you were there setting up, but I don't know how did the rain, it dumped down rain all around. I don't know that it ever did on Hubbard Park. Did it?
Just for a really little bit, like maybe for 5-10 minutes.
I feel like that's every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always the threat or just the near miss or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so it was cool because it was just enough right before it started, as sun's kind of going down. There was a rainbow, just a full on rainbow that was right over the campus. And so you had this, I took a picture of it just with Old Capitol,
James, do you
stage.
have the possibility of inserting that picture that he took of the rainbow?
Yeah.
We
can overlay it.
Wow.
We did it with the Robinsons photo of the turtle. We have the technology.
Nice.
The technology has been
do it. We can hack the mainframes.
Oh man, that might take us out of average though.
No, it's okay. It was cool.
It looked
awesome.
Well, and just being there, some of my reflections on it, because it was like, man, it's been probably 15 years since I've done a SALT kickoff message. Had done those at Iowa State, here in Iowa City, and I think that it's the crowd of college students. It's a miracle that it could get old, but you don't want it to. Like it'd be like the manna, just God does something, and you're just like, oh yeah, it's that's normal, and it's not normal.
Yeah,
and
right.
And you're in the midst of a revival, a thing that God is doing, and it's beyond Iowa City, and just it is cool seeing the other churches kick off and their college ministries, Salt Company, and around the country. And that's just it's a miracle I never want to get just complacent toward.
Well, it was cool that within a short time span, we were also sending off Austin and Ellie to Spain. And I mean, he got invited to a kickoff on that campus, and heard the gospel. And just the story of going from one of those students out in that massive crowd, wandering in for the first time, to now being sent out by that local church to take the gospel to another nation. You know what I mean? Like all that happened within a couple of weeks of each other. You know what I mean? And so it was pretty, I don't know, the full circle of all that God is beginning, the little seeds of what's beginning, and who knows what's going to be happening in the months and years to come.
That third service. So we've been doing this recently at Veritas, and I think I really like, I don't know if we'll call it a new format, but at the end of the service, just commissioning as part of almost the benediction of just commissioning people that are leaving. And it was so cool because all three services are pretty emotional. I mean, Austin and Ellie have been a part of Veritas for almost a decade, and from coming to Christ to now being sent out. And that last service, it's like we were all kind of holding it together, and Austin just lost it. That third service, he's holding his daughter, falls to his knees, and we're just standing up there on stage crying. And then of course, after, as he walked down, you guys had one of those, seemed like, hugs that just goes on for 5 minutes. Just the tears and the, it was just a special.
It's very special.
It's not just crowds.
Yeah.
It's not just a mass of people. It's people you love, and so it's special week of ministry. How about Cedar Rapids? Does it? Being in it's not a college town necessarily. How does the school year feel for you guys? The restart, people coming back from summer stuff. What's the
there's a sense of energy and kind of diving into ministry rhythms. But even as we're not a university town, but just to see the growth of college ministry within our context. Our first SALT, we had close to 400 kids there.
No way.
It's incredible to see.
Whoa.
Just a growing number of students that are leaning in.
So great. So.
Jake, that's awesome.
You're always like, really? It's
same thing with Dubuque. I don't know if you guys saw pictures of Dubuque. This was the first year that they took their kickoff, and actually their ongoing meetings will be off the University of Dubuque campus, and found this like neutral spot downtown that's really cool, kind of industrial, and packed it out. I mean, it's just these pockets of what God is doing in maybe unlikely places that
there's a renewed. It just seems like there's a hunger.
Yeah.
And I think something that's been energizing for me that I've just observed in the last few years with our college students is the number of dudes that are really leaning in. It's really neat to see.
I agree.
Man, Jake, I went back and listening to a lot of some of the sermons from your summer series of Sweeter Than Honey, something like that. And I listened to some of your younger preachers, emerging guys, and it's just I was amazed at the people that God is raising up. And I heard, Jake, I heard you kind of in them. Not that they're not, they definitely have their own voices and own style, but I could just see a lot of your influence coming out, the clarity of their being in the text, just their clarity of thought in like logical progression of thought through the text, big idea, and just I really saw a lot of your influence in them, and so I thought that was cool, man. Well done on raising those.
It's exciting to see them grow as preachers. It's fun.
Yeah. If I was a young preacher, or someone who wanted to do that, I would want to be a part of Cedar Rapids staff and just have any opportunities to lead. And I think it's so cool that you guys did. I think in some ways, I think you guys were the first ones to try Salt Company in a non-college town, like a metro area, and just there's not a kind of a flagship school, but there's a lot of, in any city, there's a lot of college students. And I think for you guys to just power through and do that, and the fruit that you've been seeing is really cool, and just creating, opportunities for people to emerge, and
it's fun.
Yeah. Well done.
I want to learn how to preach from Jake.
Right.
I did I don't know, man. Every now and then I'll go back and listen to one of my sermons, I haven't gotten the courage to watch one yet. But I just listened to this last one and I just hung my head. I can't tell you how many times I hung my head like, somebody pull him off that stage. What cosmic joke allowed me to be up there teaching the Bible?
Is it like listening to yourself on an answering machine or something? Remember those days where you hear your own voice? And you're like,
it wasn't just my voice. It was it was the structure. It was my anyway.
Oh man.
Yeah.
What's
humbling?
I have a preaching question that I want to ask you guys. But let me start with Jake. What have you been preaching on lately that's been just on your heart? You know what I mean? It seemed like, and now I listened to one of your sermons from a couple weeks ago. You talked about kind of this new initiative or some of the new things you guys are doing. You can talk about that one, or you can talk about just whatever new thing that you've been studying or teaching. But what's something that's been kind of on your mind, on your heart, as you've been just in things that you're preaching on and studying and thinking about?
Yeah, we're getting ready to start Daniel this Sunday. So I've been doing a lot of reading throughout the summer and studying that, and just the call to faithfulness as exiles, and I think further back this summer, and I took a rep in our Sweeter Than Honey series and just Romans 5, 8, and 9, or 6 through 9, of just the amazing sufficiency of God's grace. And especially as a driver, it's like, we always got to get better. We always got to get better. Like, let's improve. It's just refreshing to just know, like, there's nothing you bring to the table. God's grace is sufficient. It's mind-blowing. And
I listened to that sermon. I loved it. I wonder if you could unpack that a little more. You talked about your tendency as a coach's son, and you kind of probably have some of that coaching.
Yeah.
How is the gospel? What is the gospel for Jake and others that maybe struggle with that sense of?
Well, I think I read, I think we talked about it in the spring or something. Finished the Reformed Pastor by Baxter, where it's like, I think young people going into ministry should read that book. He to me seemed like a coach that was giving every young minister a kick in the pants of like, ministry's hard work, get after it. And I love that. I love there's this sense of like, let's go, let's get better. But growing up as just a coach's son, it was always, and it's like, my dad loved me. It was very clear, but it was always like, how we get better. We got to do it. You could have the best game of your life. And it's like, but you missed that tackle and you didn't have your feet right. And we need to work on that. And it's like, but I set a record in tackles. But like, we're going to talk about that. Yeah, we're going to talk about that one. But it's like, but I did miss it, and I didn't have, and I could have had. So yeah, it's always like, how are you going to get better? And that it is good, but I can find that sometimes I can exhaust myself and probably other people around me.
Yeah.
But we're doing good, right? Like everything's got to get better, and I think it is finding your rest in but I made all those other tackles, or is it finding your rest in the grace of God and all those other tackles are rubbish, Yeah.
Don't you think, I don't know about you, Jake, but when I reflect on the journey that God had me on from the beginning, so I spent a few years of my early faith in what we would think of as a fundamentalist, environment. And as I reflect back, there was a lot of kind of just negativity. Like, you're always the sin part, the falling short part, sometimes even beating up of the congregation, even the faithful that are there. Pretty strong current of that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I almost forget that as I've been out of that world for several years, but there are churches that all their people feel inadequate, losers, falling short. Now, again, some of that, we could use a bigger dose of that in some of our other churches.
Yeah, because in some churches you go and you feel like all I get is a pep warm hug.
Totally. And you're doing great. Just be you or whatever. But you know what I mean?
Think you had, so the gospel from Romans 5 is that you preached on to that person that's like, there's the me that is, and there's the me that ought to be the perfect Jake with the perfect footwork, the perfect tackling. And there's always a gap there. I'm always falling short. And you preach on Romans 5:8, which is,
while you're yet sinners, Christ died for you. Like, there's this emphasis of, this was your condition. This is your condition. And in this condition, God demonstrates his love.
Man.
And to understand, it's not like, while you started to get your act together, then God stepped in. There was the completeness of God's grace.
It was really cool timing, because that was the passage that Cole Williams, our SALT director, was going to preach on. Had family emergency, wasn't able to do it, and that was his text. So I'm like, I'm just going to preach that. I had just listened to yours, so I was already kind of fresh. Yeah. I think. A lot of, in the sermon that I did this last summer, we talked about, conviction versus compromise, all some of the things related to Daniel and having a passion for holiness. Some of that came out of our conversations on our writing retreat about your the book you're working on, something on embracing different, and now the Daniel stuff. I'm excited to be able to rip off more of your ideas from Daniel, but I do feel like that's a great tension going from Romans 5 to Daniel.
Yeah.
Like the gospel and then into, and what does a life of faithfulness look like? Yeah. And so that.
How long are you going to be in Daniel?
Up to Advent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
Is this first sermon more of an intro overview?
No, I wish I would have. Because it's just, and another thing, we preached 2 Corinthians. It was our last book study, and just kind of getting familiar again with preaching narratives. I mean, there's so much, just content in the story and setup, and you do have this strong call to be resolved, to be faithful, but it's not that the problem's Babylon. Like, it's just they're in Babylon because they couldn't be faithful in Israel,
right?
Like that, and it's even to learn, like, I got you. Like, my grace is sufficient. Kingdoms will rise and fall. My kingdom will last forever. It's just teaching you should stay faithful to God because He's sovereign over everything,
right?
And so, I'm eager to get into to Daniel. It'll be fun. It'll be challenging. We're gonna do even all the weird parts.
The weird parts,
dude.
Can we just do the first 6 chapters
and then just call it?
Yeah, just call it. But we're gonna tackle all of it.
I love the weird stuff. It like when we were doing Revelation. I hope that it becomes less weird and more worshipful.
Yeah,
sure. just the God wants it to be. He didn't put that in there for us to be confused, but to be encouraged. So hopefully that,
but also to appreciate the mystery, right? I mean, the fact that after all these generations of great men of God trembling at the word, come away a little confused. Like even with Revelation, how Calvin, wrote a commentary on every book of the Bible except the book of Revelation and said, I don't think I get it well enough to write a comment. And you're like, well, that gives me some hope. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So you can find the beautiful truths to worship over, and then have the humility to be like, man, there's some mystery going to be left on the table.
Are you guys jumping back into Luke?
Yeah,
we're doing this week.
No, I'm preaching on communion this week. Jeff did a great, you talked about you didn't love watching it. I mean, I thought it was like just vintage Jeff sermon, just preaching on baptism, very instructive, just great exhortation to, on baptism. And this week, communion, and then we'll do why we preach the way we do. Jeff's speaking on that, and then we'll start Luke.
Yeah.
So I want to ask this is related to preaching, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this. I was hanging out with Drake Epkiss, and he found the book Team of Rivals at it was like a library, super giveaway or what, a super sale, whatever. So grabbed that book, and he read this quote, and I wanted to read it to you guys. So
somebody else just won a bingo.
Yeah, that's right.
Team of Rivals,
bingo.
We got AI.
We're not done. It's going to be a long time before
the filler card this. Is your third child. What's their name?
So here we go. Listen to this, and I want to. So apply this to our conversation on preaching. The context is. I'll just read the quote. The context. It says, unlike the majority of anti-slavery orators who denounced the South and castigated slave owners as corrupt and unchristian, Lincoln pointedly denied fundamental differences between Northerners and Southerners. He argued that, quote, they are just what we would be in their situation. If slavery did not now exist among them, they would not introduce it. If it did now exist amongst us, we should not instantly give it up. When it is said that the institution exists and that it is very difficult to get rid of it in any satisfactory way, I can understand and appreciate the saying. I surely will not blame them for not doing what I should not know how to do myself. And finally, when they remind us of their constitutional rights, I acknowledge them, and I would give them any legislation for the reclaiming of their fugitives. This is related to the Nebraska Act, which would expand slavery in states that did not now, or in new states were they going to allow slavery or not? So, which he was arguing against, but what he was saying is, so here's the related to preaching is this idea of how he was building common ground with the Southern, his whole thing was, hey, slavery is wrong. And as he progressed, he got more, he doubled down even more on that, his kind of his own progression on the topic. It's like, he's like, it's easy to say it's wrong. Like, but just yelling at the South and just like it says, just like castigating them. And he basically was saying, hey, if I was in the South, what would I do?
Right.
Or if they were up here, they wouldn't introduce it. And he's trying to build this common ground by just like compassion or understanding. And I thought about this related. So this is what made him, like, one of the things that made him so compelling. And he wasn't just a self-righteous, how could they? But he was building that, and he was appealing to this moral common ground, and actually became more winsome to people in the South that, oh, you're not you understand, you're coming from a standpoint of,
while never losing his conviction that it was wrong. Like doing that while, not just, giving ground.
So the bridge to preaching is, because I think this is something that I showed my son this clip. I got this clip. Somebody sent me of a pastor talking about, that I want to keep it strategically ambiguous here, because I don't want to throw anyone under the bus. This is a good gospel preacher, but was just going off on young men. I'll tell you your problem. You're idiots if you don't, and it was like kind of a rah, like, get a job, it's hard. I'm doing all this stuff. And it was all like true stuff. And I showed it to one of my kids who is that age, like would be the kind of person he's talking to. He's like, Dad, that's like not compelling at all. I don't know how he basically was saying that's not what we need to hear. Just being called an idiot. And, and it's just so easy to preach down.
Yeah.
And then what happens is your tribe ends up getting, say it like it is. Yeah, go after them, go get them. Just like the anti-slavery, like you tell them. And Lincoln's like, hey, you probably wouldn't do anything
right.
I can't criticize them for doing something that I don't know what I would do in that situation, as obviously like evil as it is, you know what I mean? And so just that compassion coming. So how does that play out or is that something you guys have observed in preaching and preachers? And it's easy, because I was probably in my younger days, I had probably a little more of that in me. I think now as I get older, I'm a little more hesitant to just start going off on stuff without a compassion. I don't know. How does that land with you guys? How do you process that?
I mean, I think your audience matters. Are you talking to somebody who's not a believer, and it's like, I know your background and I have complete understanding of how you got to act the way that you're acting, and you're making a connection? Or is your audience like, you should know better? So the other thing that I've been more challenged on is appreciating diversity of voice and style in preaching. Even when you see, the differences of different prophets delivering their message, or John the Baptist versus Jesus, or Jesus in this situation and Jesus in that situation, or to this audience and to that audience, of not being too quick to be they did it wrong and this is the right way. Because even an audience where somebody may listen to that and be like, that's not motivating at all. And other people might hear it and be like, I was super convicted. Mm-hmm. And just what the Spirit's doing and the diversity of the message and the messenger, to not feel like I have to do it that way, but also being like, I'm not saying he's wrong. Like, I don't know, an openness to.
Do you think if you found out that preaching a certain way, like let's just take it back to the days of, us as younger pastors listening to a well-known kind of, I don't know, want to say his name, but
you
just
don't want to say names of your kids. You don't want to say names of preachers.
Well,
there's the nameless episode.
Yeah.
The nameless episode. Sure. If we're
just that bold, brazen kind of kick you in the butt with the gospel, man up kind of, approach to preaching. There is a way of preaching that gets the tribe and the people kind of frothed up in a way that you could say, well, that's just your personality. Like I'm 100% agreeing with you. Cause I mean, look at the three of us, like all of us would have our sermon on Daniel, baptism, communion, whatever. It would have sounded totally
differently.
Yeah. But there could be a tone but I still see like in your Romans 5 sermon, you were approaching it as like, hey, this is my, like, I'm a, like, it's like Hebrews too, like the priest that can understand, can sympathize in their weakness because you yourself struggle with weakness.
So that's the passage I just opened to, actually, that Hebrews 5. Every high priest taken from among men is appointed in matters pertaining to God for the people, to offer both gifts and sacrifices for sins. And then what you're talking about, he's able to deal gently with those who are ignorant and are going astray, since he himself is clothed with weakness. Because of this, he must make an offering for his own sins as well as for the people. And that's a go-to for me on this topic of, if we ever get to the point where we are purely preaching down to like some ivory tower, we're so far removed from the sins that we're calling out of the people. You know what I mean? Do
you think there's a difference between preaching down to somebody and preaching bold and more?
Right. I do think there's so for instance,
offensive,
even with baptism, like I started off by saying, hey, how many of you were baptized as babies? And my wife and I both had our hands up, and we're trying to identify, right? Like, oh, we're all coming to this place. Many, many, many. I mean, it looked like the whole crowd. Okay. But then we open the Bible, see what the Bible says. And by the end, then I'm saying, what are your weak excuses for not getting baptized? Stop.
Sure. Yeah.
Get baptized. It's
right.
Follow Jesus. So I'm just saying you can be both. I think Hebrews 5, you're understanding the weaknesses of other people, having experienced weakness in yourself, and then simultaneously be bold, because in Christ, in the gospel, we can be bold. You know what I mean?
I'm totally with you on like the arrogant, preaching down and kind of but I do wrestle with, I mean, you even look at John the Baptist of like, who warned you to come out here, you brood?
Right.
Like, can you imagine somebody coming in the church? Time out. Who invited you? Like, what are you doing here? Like this, and we'd be like, dude, that was so arrogant and offensive. And is there space for
boldness? Is not arrogance.
Yeah, and so, but when does boldness get called arrogance, and when do
you think
gentleness, cowardice, and how do you thread that? That's where it's like that kind of one size fits all. This is how preachers should sound or do or say or not say. Even in like not everybody has the same audience megaphone responsibility of.
There's some guys that we respect that, they are kind of that almost Mr. Rogers preachers
sure.
or pastors that have that
Mm-hmm.
just really merciful,
right,
compassionate tone. And sometimes they've gotten caught, a couple of the ones that I know of that are very great pastors that in a moment got caught up in trying to over-identify with the interviewer on some of the, you know, the sexuality issues and kind of had to, you know, after the fact, come back and re-clarify what they were saying because they weren't being bold. So I think there's an error on this side too, where you can like it's like someone was, you know, it's like someone was saying to somebody here, like, let's see, a pastor just basically confronting someone on their sin. And they said, and the comment was to them, like, easier said than done. And it's like, well, I'm calling you. I understand it's hard, but just saying it's complex, it's complicated.
Right.
It's kind of a cop out.
Yeah, cop out.
Do you remember, I don't know, this was kind of 2020 era. Kevin DeYoung came out with that like 1, 2, 3, 4 on like social issues. And basically like the 1s and the 4s are these extremes. And the 2s and the 3s, the 2s would be like, look at the 3s and be like, how can you put up with the 4s? And the 3s would look at the 2s and be like, how could you put up with the 1s? And they're those kind of outliners where as a 2, let's say I'm a 2 and I would look at a 4 and say you're a 3. And I'm like, Jeff, like I'm okay with you, but how could you be okay with
associated
that?
with?
And you look at me and like, yeah, but you're 1. And I'm kind of like, I wouldn't have done it that way, but I'm not that bad that he did. You know, I kind of get, and I think the same thing with preachers where it's like, we might be like 2 and 3, like we get it, but I have less of a problem maybe with like, okay, I wouldn't have said it that way, but I get it. You know,
Interesting. Was he saying it in the context of
politics?
He
didn't apply it to preaching. He applied it to like,
was it political
social issues of how you view COVID, to race issues, to
I see.
I'd have to go back and read. It was a really helpful.
That's good.
Well, I do think, Jake, to your point, I think you're hitting on something that we have an obligation to be offensive.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the cross itself is an offense, and the truth, when the light of truth gets turned on, people love darkness rather than light so that their deeds won't be exposed. So I'll give, for instance, this week, third service, there was a transgender dude sitting kind of prominently on the aisle, and it was hard to miss him dressed like a woman. And, and so this thought went through my mind, like, wow, how is this being landing in those ears and that soul? You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, whatever culture we're in, I hope we're offensive, and I hope we don't try to soften the gospel itself or any truth from the Bible because we want it to land more softly on this person or that person. So we should be prepared to be offensive, you know?
Without being a jerk.
Being a jerk.
Yeah, that's
because I think the ones maybe that you're talking about, Mark, I don't know who you're talking about, but I'm saying, and I would say his name too. No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't know his name, but I'm saying there are people that use that more as a tool. It's like a speaking tool to rile the crowd. I want to be edgy. I want to use language. So people are offended more by his approach, his whatever. I'm saying if we're gonna offend people, if people are gonna be mad at us, let it be because we are crystal clear on Jesus and the truth that he brings.
Well, I could, if you wanted to, this is the thing that's hard about it is like, you don't want to judge, but here's what I know, that like James, if we just had our, whole arts department really focused on our social media and being out there and our clips on, YouTube Shorts and Facebook and all the things, like I would probably dial in certain sections more and more pithy statements and more,
attractive.
It would there's a way to speak that's like, all right, this paragraph, you're going to want to get this out there because this is really going to get the views. I know how to, like, it's not that we don't know how to do that.
Right.
It's that
Well, I don't know how to do that.
Do we have the technology? Has that been invented?
Somebody in this room does.
Yes, you can do that. You could if you wanted to, and you would learn how. There's an art to it. I mean, this is ancient. The sophists back in the day, and that was the critique of the philosophers. Were like these motivational speakers out there, just getting the crowd. I'm saying there's a way to do that, but like it just. When I look out on our crowd of people in our congregation, I don't want to talk to them. Like, I don't talk to you guys like that.
Right.
But is there, I mean, obviously
I wish I remember where I read this. Somebody was making the case that the new seeker sensitive or the new culturally appealing approach is the more based, bold, because they're so sick of a watered down, just tell me. And that's more appealing.
But but even that, it's not just a bold proclamation of the truth. It's a lot of times it's laced with like a little bit of a political edge to it.
Sure.
And because you listen to it, like, because you're getting if you can get your tribe, kind of, this is, you tell them, and they have the courage to say what no pastor's willing to say, like sneaking in their little.
How does it play out though? Because I keep thinking of 1 Corinthians 4, where Corinth was a mess, and Paul's like, you got countless guides and you don't have any fathers. And when is the point where as a preacher to speak as a father, where you're not talking down, but you are talking from a place of authority, where, let's say it's, you need to get jobs, what if it's like, hey, here's the statistics on our porn industry. Young men, you need to stop, like, is that like, stop talking down on me? Or is it, no, you're speaking as a father who wants what's best and you're calling us to holiness.
Well, like Mark, you just did that with that pop song, like 3 weeks ago, or I don't know how long ago, where you actually did say, I'm going to give you the title of this song, and I'm going to tell you.
You didn't get bingo yet, unless you named this. No, it's right. I think that, Jake, I totally agree that I think this doesn't mean you don't call things out strongly, like John the Baptist. You don't go John the Baptist. I think it's what I'm talking about is more of a tone, a packaging that is meant. It's more manipulative than, how in 2 Corinthians, Paul's like, we didn't speak in that way.
But I think one of the things, outside of it being the inspired word of God, is when we get a lot of Paul. So it's like, well, you're telling these people to be castrated, and here you're weeping over them like a child. Like, you see the pastoral heart of Paul, you see the bold defense of the gospel of Paul. We get these sound bites of these preachers, and it's like, you just sounded like an idiot. Now, you may be an idiot, but that's all I've seen of you. Now, if I knew you better, and it's like, I also saw you crying with the family, and then we may give them more like, oh, okay, I see more of you and oftentimes what's unfortunate is you get into a certain church culture and people start sounding like each other. Like, just the voice of this church is always like, what I appreciate, like, I love listening to you guys because you have a different voice than me, and it's refreshing. And to have a congregation that can grow from tone and approach.
I was reading Ephesians 3 this morning, and I ended up thinking, man, at least for today, I think this might be my favorite chapter of the Bible. But one of the reasons it caught me is because, where he says, this grace was given to me, and he keeps saying to me, in this delight, in this, like, I can't believe this is coming to me, this extravagant, like, shock of God's generosity to me,
Yeah.
This grace was given to me, the least of all the saints, to proclaim to the Gentiles the incalculable riches of Christ and to shed light for all the administration of the mystery hidden for ages in God who created all things. But that's been now it's ours, and we get to be making it known through the church to the rulers. And I was like, oh man, I want to recapture that. And I wasn't looking for that as far as like in a couple of weeks talking about preaching. Wow, there's the
10 o'clock
neighborhood
tornado
sirens.
Whenever you feel, I don't know why I think this, but whenever I hear sirens, and in Cedar Rapids, there's like a voice that comes over, like,
oh,
this is a you can't quite understand what they're saying. I feel immediately like I'm in a communist country. This is what happens. And like, there's sirens, there's voices telling us to do something.
Well, I think about, remember when we were in
1984 or something.
Or remember in Morocco, these sirens, it's the call to prayer.
The call to prayer.
And everyone like gets down, there's people stop and pray, and it was pretty.
But I don't know if you remember that time I was sharing the gospel with that one Moroccan, and all of a sudden the call to prayer went up, and I was right in the kind of like this. I was right in the middle of a point, and so I just kind of respectfully stopped, and he kind of waved his hand like, no, forget that. I want to keep going. And I remember that moment, like, wow, what a cultural shift happened in his soul. Okay, but back to Ephesians 3. Just, that those incalculable riches, the multifaceted of God now maybe through the church to the rulers and the authorities in the heavens, and the boldness and the confident access we have through. And I was both proactively like, man, God, re-stir that passion in my soul. And then also, I think appropriately, mad that so many churches gather people in those doors, sing sweet hymns or whatever, and don't bring out the majesty and the glory, the proclamation of the multifaceted wisdom that we have in Christ. You know what I mean? Like, why are you holding back? Why are you cheapening this moment for all these people? They've gotten up and walked into your church, and you're giving them like little tidbits or whether it's sensational things to vaunt up the preacher or just feel good messages that are shallow. I'm like, preachers, get into Ephesians 3.
Ephesians 3, yeah.
Do you think like preaching as pastors to a flock, that there's seasons just like a dad to his kids, like there's times where we just need to comfort with the word of God, and then there's times where we need to convict and like like, okay, this is a spanking type of talk, and this is a comforting type of talk. And
well, what makes me think of when you were talking about that is Paul himself in Galatians 1. He is calling Peter out, or 2, whatever, at the beginning of Galatians, calling Peter out to his face in front of a crowd. And by the time you get to the end, he's saying, carry one another's burdens and thus fulfill the law of Christ. So it's all true. You know what I mean? Yeah. There are times where you call them out boldly. Yeah. And then there are times that you
think there's a difference in preaching that we have to be mindful of, okay, this is a big room, and this room has sheep in it, and it has goats in it, and it has wolves in it. And how do we speak to different? Is there and you're not, sometimes you're speaking to sheep about wolves or lies. And how do you attack with the gospel or the truth of Scripture the evil of the world in a way that exposes darkness?
In Jeff's example of transgender in the whatever second row right there, do you now all of a sudden change your whole sermon to speak to this?
See, that's what makes it challenging, because how I would speak to an individual struggling with gender identity is going to be completely different against how I would speak to the systems of our world trying to confuse us about the truth of gender. And it's like, or what's the context? Because I think if you look at Scripture, there is not just permission, but calling for bold, take out the legs of the lies of the world, expose the lies. And then there's a call to like comfort the lost, lead the lost.
Yeah.
And it's a
Jake,
tricky thing.
Well, okay, I just had. Do you mind?
Keep going.
Here's what happened just yesterday morning.
Yeah.
So I'm reading the Bible with this friend of mine who's not a Christian. And so he's got lots of questions as we read through the Bible. Well, in the meantime, into his world have come a couple of professing Christians. Unfortunately, a couple of them that have ties to our own local church who are flagrantly sinning. So at one point, we're going through the scripture, we're going back and forth, great conversation. And he just paused and he like intently looks in my eyes and he's like, I need to ask you, what is better? A Christian who doesn't live like one, or somebody who doesn't even claim to be a Christian, but they're acting in a Christian way? Which one's better? And I'm like, and I literally paused for long, so uncomfortably. I'm like, you got to give me a minute because that is a really profound question. And I want to be careful on how I answer, you know? So I'm tying this back to churches that refuse to call people Christians out of the darkness that they've stumbled back into. We're not helping the gospel in those moments. You know what I'm saying? Like my own friend is confused now because a couple of people have come into his life that are saying that they believe the same thing I'm telling him that I believe and I am compelling him to believe. And he's like, well, I see you living that way, but there's these... You know what I mean? I'm just saying we're not doing the gospel any good when we do.
So now back to the Jake calling out a structural thing, communion. Okay. So how much time do I spend calling out the Roman Catholic Church on, because Paul in Corinthians is like, I don't know what you guys are doing. It's not the Lord's Supper you're doing.
Right.
Like he says that. Like that.
It'd be better for you to not get together than to keep doing what you're doing. That's what he says.
He says, he literally says, it's not the Lord's Supper.
Yep.
You guys are going through but that's not it.
Yeah.
Because this is what it is. And at what point is it saying, that's a fake, whatever charade you guys are doing, it's not the Lord's Supper that you're doing. And that's a pretty bold thing that Paul says. And I, so to what extent do I take on that tone? And I think I can't preach that warning about communion without that tone of hey, that's why some are dead among you and have fallen asleep, because you're sinning against the body of that better have a
right.
You bring up a good point. Do you think the preacher has a responsibility? Because we say the text is our authority. Preach the text. Does the preacher also have a responsibility to preach the text in the tone of the text? Or do they have freedom to say all right, I'm going to preach in the tone of my situation, the truth of the text? Because some people will say you not only have to match the truth of the text, but the tone of the text. So if Paul is serious, you need to be serious. If Jesus is sharp, you need to be sharp. Or is it, no, your tone should be to your context. The truth should be to what do you guys think?
So if you're teaching, Luke 4 and it says Jesus, fasted 40 days and it says, and he was hungry, and can you slip in a little, well, duh.
Joke. Yeah, right.
But if you're entering into the text, you might be like, oh man, you guys, he's really hungry. Yeah. This is a fun, when do you, on a serious, maybe, something that's this really not a joking matter.
Right. Because I think there's some leeway there, because it's Paul might be aggressively attacking the Judaizers because of the intensity of that situation. And I think you have to understand the seriousness of what's going on, but also step back and be like, but that's not our situation, but it is a truth for us.
But
how do you...
But even Paul seems to do that when he's like, I wish they would go the whole way and emasculate themselves.
I don't think he's joking, though. I mean, I don't think it's like I think it's showing the intensity of his...
But I think
it's like hyperbole, right? I mean,
you don't think you don't think he chuckled there like, you guys, this...
Or at least had a fast pulse rate, you know what I mean?
I don't know. I read Jesus and I think, man, he's got a sense of humor. I don't know if I feel that about Paul too often.
Well, Jake, are you saying this because you like to? I mean, I think in your preaching you do. You toe that line well.
Sure, I'm probably yeah. I think that the body of Christ is diverse in its gifting and personalities, where you're going to have people that learn different and preach different. And I'm trying to be thankful for the different even when you read great preachers of history or preachers in scripture, there's some that are just like, whew, you know.
Right. So Jake, let me give an example of my experience of this under your preaching. So I listened to Romans 5 sermon, and I listened to your sermon on prayer from Acts 2. And I was like, Romans 5, I'm like, I love Jake's preaching. Like this is awesome. So and then the next one, I'm like, I'm kind of ticked off at Jake because I don't like this. And because on the one you're like, coming at it from, man, I have this tendency, this, coaching, but here's the gospel. And Acts 2, you're like, all right, yeah, we're gonna, we have this prayer meeting, and nobody, like, we have 900 members and 300 people show up. You do the math. And I'm like, as you're preaching, this was my I want to take you on the journey of my interaction with you during the sermon. Is I'm listening to this and I'm simultaneously like fired up by call to prayer. They devoted themselves to prayer and the ministry of the word. We as a church are going to start doing this, or we need to re-up on this, however you said it. And so my interaction with you through the sermon is I'm approaching it from a pastor ministry perspective. Like, man, I don't know that that's the application of being more devoted, like have a big, let's pack out this room with people in a prayer meeting. Cause I'm thinking, man, most of the best prayer times I've had is more just like in a smaller context. So I'm interacting with you on like at a leadership level, and is this the best thing? And blah, 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 blah. And I was really processing it. And because I was kind of like, you put a rock in my shoe and I didn't like it. And I don't know if I agree with that and blah, blah, blah. And I was just kind of praying about it and just processing what with the Lord, like, why is this agitating me? And I just felt like the Lord was saying, Mark, Jake's version of praying is better than your version of not praying. Like his heart and attempt to say, hey, people of God, like we need to be more devoted to prayer.
Let's do something about this.
We are going to do something. This isn't about it's like your point was not like, we're going to start doing it the right way. Your whole point was like, hey, what if we were a church more devoted to prayer and the apostles' teaching? And I just felt like the Lord was saying, that's the takeaway is, and so it has really, that sermon has probably impacted me more than the sermon I liked on Romans 5, because I just like yesterday, my men's group, I'm like, we were in the foyer. I'm like, we're going into the auditorium. We're going to get on our knees and end our time on our knees in prayer. And I think it was directly correlated to that sermon. And so as we, like, that was, I'm saying, you kind of coming at me a little stronger was what I needed. And as I wrestled through it, so I I really hope that.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Stirs something up.
Because you do an exceptional job of leading out. Because I've been in numerous small contexts where you're like, let's pray. Like just in the moment, like let's do it. Mm-hmm. And it's probably a strength of yours where I often see it as a weakness of mine where I'm like, let's do something. Let's just get after it. Let's get to it. Mm-hmm. I remember you came up and recorded a podcast and like, all right, let's go. And you're like, well, do we still pray around here? Maybe we should pray first. And it's just like, yeah, we should do that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's maybe some of the angst is just even seeing the own weakness in myself of trying. I could fall into trying to do ministry in my own strength rather than a dependency on God and wanting. And what do they say? Like the weaknesses of the leader in time will be the weaknesses of the church. And just kind of feel like, shame on me if we're a church that's not dependent on God.
Which segueing all the way back to Team of Rivals, which I hate to do, but but that very thing, that's why church leadership needs to be in plurality, right? Yeah. Because obviously any of our weaknesses are going to be more dramatic if we have nobody else trying to fill that gap, you know what I mean? In their pitching to do a more complete version of what the church should be, of what preaching should be. So, even when we talk through our sermons with our fellow elders, there's almost always something that comes out. I mean, with baptism, when Eric Bodine said that about, did Jesus need to get baptized? No. Well, do we? I'm just saying, like, there's these insights, there's this completion.
That's a good word, the plurality. Like, we need it. There is going to be a weakness if our voice is the only voice shaping the church. Mm-hmm. Like we need, the plurality there. That's a good word. We don't want to be celebrity pastor driven and to be true, pastors. I think that maybe even this podcast, this could be a byproduct of that is working through like there's a plurality of our voices that how we don't all think monochromatically about a thing. Like it's like we interact with ideas and differently, and that hopefully is an encouragement. And so well, how do we land this one?
That seemed like a really natural closing right there almost. Have we ever done that before? Like a natural landing?
The plane just landed and they're like,
what just happened? Yeah. What just happened? We didn't even feel the bump. It just kind of natural.
Well, this is where it's average because now it's not natural anymore that we called it out. It would have just like faded to black.
Yeah, if we would have just dropped the theme music in there, we could have.
We could have.
James, is there technology to edit that?
We don't have that.
We don't have that technology.
AI can't do it.
No. That's just
the greatest mind could not do that.
Yeah.
Do you think any of your kids could do it? Like, which one of your kids could do that? Which one would
try to profit off of? Oh man. Well, so as we close, how do we take all of this and what's the encouragement? What's the good word? What's the benediction as we close this? Episode?
Dude, I'm just grateful for you two. I just think, man, if anybody else is listening to this particular episode, good on you. I'm enriched by being shaped and forged, whether it's preaching, leadership, dependence. I mean, all those things we talked about. Yeah, thanks, you guys. I'm grateful.
Yeah, it is so sweet to live together in unity and praise the Lord. And if you have questions, topics, things we could talk about, sometimes we struggle. We get up here and we don't know what we're going to talk about. I mean,
well, Jake and I certainly don't know.
You guys don't. I need some help. And so the email is...
send it to averagepastorpodcast@gmail.com.
Oof. All right.
They're just rolling in. We got 2 in the last week.
That's amazing.
Holy cow.
Wow. Gosh. How are we going to
cut it off?
This? Yeah. That's all right. So we're glad that you've joined us. We hope that you enjoyed the conversation, that maybe you took something away, encouraged you in your faith. We're built up in some encouraging way. So go and keep in step with the Spirit, follow Jesus, and we'll see you next time.